Dave.
I have a beverage to open. You are drinking a beer.
I am.
Cheers, buddy. Well done.
Clink.
Plastic cup, clink, Denver to Tucson toast. Right? Your beer, I think, had a unicorn or a horse on it.
It's a Montucky cold snack.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. And that's the kind of thing you need in a time like this, in a place like that.
Yes. It's a very cold beer, which is very nice because it is 106 degrees.
Dude, it didn't get over 72 in Denver today. We got a little bit of hail, but
Yeah. Well,
you poor thing. Yeah, that sucks. Remember when we went to RMDE, Ian, and we did all this stuff? And Ian's laughing because I said we're not going to talk about RMDE, except for this one little bit. When we went to the press event, we did all the stuff. We drove a bunch of cars. And then at the end, what did you do? You put me in a car. Okay? You created a decompression chamber for you and I. But you did it.
Oh, right.
You did it for me, right? Because you could tell like I was kind of like overwhelmed and we both just kind of needed a little bit to kind of right, exhale. It's going to be okay. Right?
Yeah.
We've been on all day, right? We were kind of on all day the day before that, although we were doing separate things, right?
Yep.
And you just created this nice space. We didn't talk a whole lot, but we chatted a little bit, and you drove me around in some little Acura crossover ADX or something like that, right? And it was nice. It was exactly what we both needed at the time, right? Yeah. You drove, I rode shotgun, and we just had a little kind of peaceful moment. And tonight, this show, I want that to be this show, right?
Okay.
Because we have stories, we've been doing all the things. If the last thing you heard from us was last week, boy, do we have some news for you.
I know. I was thinking before we started, we really need like a previously on. Because normally we don't. Normally, I think most of our shows kind of stand alone. We have a few we have some canon that we call back to or whatever. But for the most part, our shows exist on their own. Oh boy, this one is really a continuation of the last one,
right?
Because if you didn't listen to last week's show, I'll bring it up.
Yeah,
sure. Dave was in a place last week because we recorded this. We recorded last week's show on a Monday, I believe, or Sunday or Monday, and we had just basically blown up the engine for the HHR for our Lemons car for what was this past weekend we were supposed to race. And the decision had been made. We're not going to try to fix the HHR. We're going to and we had already paid the entry fee for the Lemons race. And so everyone's out money and everyone's really bummed because we had already put off doing one race this year.
Right.
And now it's a second race. And then our group chat with the Lemons team lit up with bad ideas, and they executed on one of them.
They did. Texts started going around, and it was clear that people were not giving up. That we weren't going to pull all-nighters and try to rebuild the HHR engine. And things took a different direction.
Yep. Someone found a couple. We had a couple of Lemons cars for sale in the Denver area. And Chris on the team went ahead and purchased a 99 Volkswagen Cabrio that I had seen race before. It was themed as 99 Luft balloons and had like a weird 99 sort of theme on it. And it had been sitting for at least a year, is what we were told.
Oh yeah, quite some time.
We didn't get a lot of information on it, nor did we get any tires with it, really, which was proved to be an issue. But and it had standing water in it.
It did.
On
I can vouch
Wednesday.
for that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
The race started on Saturday. The race is on Saturday.
Uh-huh.
We drove it around a parking lot.
Yep. Chad on our team negotiated and drove it around the parking lot.
And into your garage, and that was the end of list, right?
Pretty much.
Before we showed up at the track on Friday for Tuck.
Yeah. Yeah. We did some work. We checked through some stuff on the car, but
right.
It had a roll cage. It had a kill switch. It had been done by an actual like race shop, like the cage and all the electrical stuff. And they had a nice like dash wooden panel to hold like a race clock and some stuff like some light switches, things like that. Yeah. Yeah.
And so we just sent it, without knowing that much about what we had. We changed brakes at the track on Friday. You had already done, you mentioned you did like fluids and that sort of stuff.
We did a couple oil changes. I changed out a wheel bearing, actually 2 wheel bearings on the driver's side front. The second one, because I overcompressed the first one and went to the bad place mentally. I want to shout out to my incredible wife and Chris on the team, Solfrane, for pulling me out of my super mental funk because I was really down on myself for screwing up a wheel bearing, because we actually had to buy a second one from the same AutoZone that same night. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, if that's the worst mistake that we make over the course of a race weekend, then that's doing pretty good.
True. And for a car I've never worked on in my entire life, going off of one YouTube video. Yeah. And also shout out to the insanely wild AutoZone near me, like less than 20 blocks from my house, that is open until 11 p.m. every night.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing.
Right?
And apparently has Mark III Volkswagen parts just laying around.
Just a lot of them. Yeah. They fulfilled every online order we placed. There was one little mix up, but they refunded me. And honestly, that AutoZone, fantastic. Yeah.
That's really great. Yeah. So what do you want to, so we kind of sailed through tech. We had like a couple of things to fix. Like really easy.
I wasn't there. Were you there for tech?
I was there for tech. Okay. Yeah. We had to fix the battery cover.
Okay.
The post covers on the battery.
Sure. I had to work that day. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we had to take out there was ballast. There was like 200 pounds of ballast, more than 200 pounds of ballast in the trunk that looked like it had been secured well. And those looks were deceiving. They were in there with like ratchet straps. It was 2 like tractor weights of like 48 kilograms a piece.
Yeah. Let me pull up like a tractor weight for anybody who doesn't know what it is, because I didn't know what it was until you and Chad told me about it. Yeah.
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 Yeah, so it's basically built to hook onto the front of a tractor, so that way to like counterbalance, when you're like plowing or you have something heavy in the back, so the front of the tractor doesn't go into the air. Yeah, so it kind of like there's like a post that goes like way out in front of the front axles to keep the weight down. So it just like acts as a lever on the front of a tractor.
Yeah, here's like the exact one, right? Like it's close to this. Yeah, these are like 100 pounds each.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're painted John Deere green.
Or it could go in the back if you're trying to like weigh down the back for plowing or whatever. Anyway, there's different use cases for them.
Yeah.
One of them shouldn't be put them in your front wheel drive car with no power already. I don't know what they thought they were doing, but we got the car out on track on Saturday for the race.
For the race start. Like we didn't open lap on Friday, did we?
Nope.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. I worked 16 hours on the car on Thursday, thanks to Chad and then Joel and Chris coming in to high five and continue the shift. And then I worked that Friday, and I wanted to double check with you. We did not open lap the car at all. So we had never driven it on a racetrack.
I drove it to tech and back. That was the amount. That was all the wheel time I had in it before I drove the car on Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, here it is for
And
the
then Dave,
YouTube audience.
guess what else happened on Friday?
What's that?
They let me use tools on it. I did the brakes.
Nice job, buddy. Nice job. And that theme continued through the weekend, you using tools, didn't you?
Yep. Sometimes correctly.
Hey, as someone who routinely screws up parts and strips bolts, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. And I'm sorry for making a sharp comment at you about a cotter pin.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the cotter pin. I was thinking about the impact that I almost impacted the wheel completely permanently on. It was dark. In my defense, it was dark out, and I had done the thing where you like brush the selector with your finger.
Yeah,
and it was so dark I couldn't see which way it was turning.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I was like, why isn't this loosening? And then Sulfur was like, are you tightening? And I was like, oh fuck.
Yep.
And it came right off.
Yeah. Our buddy Peter should be comforted that we had a mechanical prowess in Sulfrane to keep you and I in check while Peter was gone. Yeah.
I think they have similar energies too. Of like, this is not that hard. You're going to be fine.
Yes. No, you're right. Yeah, I think they do bring some similar energies. Yeah, to the game. Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I mean, and this was sort of my first time like really being with the full team for an extended period of time. And I think it's a really good mesh of personalities, right? Yeah. Like I think everybody kind of balances each other out a little bit. Mm-hmm. There's a good mix of bad ideas and terrible ideas and even worse ideas, which is great.
Yep.
And everybody kind of like pitches in whenever they can, so it was good. Yeah. What else do you want to say about the actual car before we talk about the race?
Right. Just the fact that we are at a race with a car was mind-blowing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my thoughts going into it, like I felt pretty good that like we had to take the ballast out because I know like I think for a team, when you have like kind of decisions that like that could have like a little bit of an impact, but like don't necessarily like have a huge impact overall, right? Like it's not like, are we going to have a car or not have a car kind of discussion, right? Like, right. Not to say like a discussion around whether or not like you have ballast in the back of the car is important or not, but like just having the tech staff remove that from being an option at Lemons and having that decision made. And it's like, okay, no, you're going to have to drive this version of the car. Right.
Yeah.
I think that those little things are the kinds of things we needed to just keep nudging us towards like making sure the rest of our energy was conserved or directed in better ways. Right. You know? Yeah. And so I'm glad little things like that kind of just seem to line up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So before the actual race, I went out there Friday evening. I think I got there sometime around 6 or something like that. I brought baby carrots, which I did not have a single one of. I was asked to bring baby carrots, and I did.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. I had a big bag of baby carrots, and I left them at home. So I appreciate you. Thank you for bringing them out. I did eat a shitload of carrots, so thank you.
No problem. Because, and this was a running joke over the weekend, calling each other some version of a daddy. Hummus Daddy brought like 3 tubs of hummus and nothing to dip in it. So we were going to just like feed each other hummus with our bare hands.
Yeah.
In an RV. Yeah.
That started because I was struggling opening the case or the package, I think with one of the brake rotors in it. And Sulfurane had a knife on him. And I said, thank you, knife daddy. And he was like, I don't care for that. And so of course I kept on doing it.
Yes. I will say, I mean, you have children around, but you're traveling right now, but I highly recommend everybody keep a pocket knife on them at all times. I mean,
yeah, my problem is that I am really good about forgetting my pocket knives in pants, backpacks, whatever, and then showing up at TSA with a pocket knife.
yeah.
So
You don't want to do that. You get a pass.
I've stopped doing that.
Yeah. You're knifeless daddy, and that's okay. Yeah.
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 But yeah, so we had, kind of not a ton of mechanical work to do on Friday, but we were up late.
Yeah. Around 11. Yeah.
Around 11.
Finally fell asleep around midnight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But we also got some of the electronics installed.
So I want to give you a shout out. So you and I, not that Wednesday, or was it that? No, not that Wednesday, but the Wednesday before that, before we did the press event, you and I kind of did a bunch of like pre-mock-up for what was going into the HHR.
Kind of bench tested, yeah.
Exactly, right? And, like you're not giving yourself credit over how much you learned about just like the weird web of tech that I've woven into the car. But you were really helpful in getting stuff installed on the car on Friday. We managed to get rudimentary live streaming going almost the entire race. In fact, the entire first day, we had a forward-facing camera and live streamed the whole 8.5 hours onto YouTube.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, and I mean, you did all the work. I just kind of helps.
But
stuff.
You understanding like the components and like why do we need to install a PC in the car? Okay, like then we're going to need to do this. Like you knowing all that is a huge help because like then we can collaborate on it. Now we can like work together
right.
Instead of just like Ian zip tie this to that,
Right. Yeah.
Which there's only so many like zip tie things to be done, and there's other people on the team that are totally available. But like like the weird like cable that we need to use for the cameras and like that stuff, right? Like and that it has to go 2 places and blah blah blah, right?
The antenna cables and all that shit. Yeah. We had a conversation about that too.
Yeah, and you landed on a great source, putting the antenna like on the back deck lid and us mounting the PC upside down underneath the rear deck lid of where the convertible stuff was all kind of removed from the car. Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think will be a good, I mean, if they end up keeping this car, that's a good permanent solution too, because it stay out of the rain and all that.
Yeah. See?
And hopefully keep us down. So
that was your idea. You were helping.
Yeah, sure.
You were. Give yourself credit, man. Yeah.
I also applied one of your stickers to the car.
You did. One of
the ones with the many, many bubbles in it.
Yes, yeah. So we have these giant Cowabunga Motor Club stickers that I made for the HHR that we did not have time to affix to the HHR, but they were still around. And they actually look pretty good on the back of the HHR there.
They look so good. They look great on there. Yeah. They really, really do.
That was the thing that like removing all of like the 99 balloons and bottles of beer and stuff like that in the 99s, like this Cowabunga Motor Club sticker was like what made it ours, I felt like. Yeah.
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 Yeah, for sure. I mean, we spent a lot of time on Friday removing stickers and that sort of stuff. And just like, dicking around with stuff in the car, trying to get it ready.
Tripping the GFI outlet on the generator.
Yeah, with a heat gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then Saturday rolls around and we're like, we don't know what to expect. Yeah. I think at Tech, the judges were like, we think you're going to last an hour. So we got C0.
They thought we were going to last an hour?
I think they said an hour and a half, but yeah, I didn't think we were going to last very long.
Okay.
Because they're like, well, it's a Volkswagen, first of all. Right. And it's a Volkswagen that's been sitting for a year and we don't know anything about it, know, and like all this stuff. So they enjoyed that story for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we got out on track and we kind of had a hodgepodge of tires, which was a thing because we couldn't find tires before the race.
Right.
So we had some of your Fiat tires.
Yes, here I have a picture of what I had. It was the Hankooks that I ran on the rear of the Nugget during autocross. So these are the Hankook What are these? These aren't the 12s. These are like the RS4s.
The
right?
RS4s, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Great tires. Yeah.
Amazing tires. Probably not good for a full weekend on a front-wheel drive car.
No. On like a 90 plus degree day with no coverage on the track whatsoever.
Yeah, it was hot.
Yeah,
it was hot, and that track gets so greasy.
Yeah.
So we had the first day we had these on the front, and then we had what was it, like the Continentals on the back.
Continental summer tires, extreme sport.
Continental,
extreme contact.
Like, like 350 tread wear or something like that. So, not ideal, but we ran all day on Saturday. Yeah. The car held together-ish. So we did have one issue that presented itself pretty much on the first stint, which was the clutch slips. And I drove third, I think, fourth. I drove fourth. Yeah.
I put the order on YouTube. I think you drove fourth. Yeah. Hang on. I have Chris's paper right here. Hang on. Yeah. I pulled this off of the wall of the RV. We had it written up there. Yeah, you drove fourth.
We did really short stints. So we each did 2 stints on Saturday because we were basically like, there's no way this fucking thing's going to last. Let's cycle through all the drivers and just make sure everyone gets seat time, which I think was the correct approach, right?
100%.
There's no way we were going to win. Like, we're not going for victories. We were just trying to get seat time and not waste our entry fee.
Yeah.
So
make use of the money and
like
time.
Practice working as a team and all that sort of stuff.
Right. Build up that muscle memory.
That was the correct call. So we did short stints, like 30 minutes, basically.
Like 50 minutes total, but, driver change and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. So by the time my stint rolled around, we were like, okay, the clutch is definitely slipping.
Right.
And then I figured out, I think this was my major contribution for the weekend, was figuring out that it was only when you shift, and didn't matter when you shifted, what the situation was. It was anytime you shifted, there was slippage. And then they figured out later, they think that it was oil leaking and basically sitting on top of the clutch. And when you open the clutch, oil goes in, slip.
Right.
And so I was like, I didn't figure out that part of it. I was just like, I just know that it slips when I shift. So what happens if I don't shift? And I ran the entire track in fourth gear, which was not fast, but the clutch didn't slip. And it felt like I was like preserving the car.
Yes.
So I suggested that. And I think everybody after me basically did the same thing with like a couple of shifts. Like if you like had really bad traffic and you were like dead stop in a corner or something like that.
Yeah. We weren't push starting it and trying to bump it into fourth. Like you would get to fourth, but then set it and forget it. Correct.
And I think honestly that helped in a couple of ways because it ended up saving the rest of the car a little bit, because it also meant that we basically we could run like 5 hours of fuel.
Yeah.
And then it also meant that we didn't burn through as many tires as we would have.
Right.
Because we corded these RS4s.
Yes, we did.
We corded the Continentals. That's what it was.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And we took chunks out of the RS4s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so then we had to put some like Toyos on that were of like really questionable age. And
they were all seasons. They had like all season, like the winter squigglies in them.
Yeah.
And
those were hot garbage. So, but I think that it also made us like, it made me a better driver on that track with this sort of car. Like, having to plan for momentum. It was the best. I was telling Chris that like, of all the things that you could like have to manage on a race car, like that is one of the better ones, I feel like.
Yes.
Like, right? Like if you have a problem where you have to manage it through an entire stint, not being able to shift and having to drive it like a momentum car is actually kind of fun, because it's just a challenge, right? Instead of sucking, you know?
Right. Like you were saying, like you tried like 12 different lines through turn 2, And like
Yeah.
none of them worked. And like you kept like every lap you were like, well, let's try this here. Let's try this there. Let's,
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. When we were shifting gears and really sending the car, Chad on the first day did a 232 lap. Our fastest lap in the HHR was like 234, 236. I think 236. He and Peta both had 236s. So Chad was, about 4 seconds faster in this car. Granted, it did have 4 cylinders of compression where the HHR probably had 1.5. But so we were shifting gears. Then after we, you figured out that like leaving it in gear was the move and everyone adopted that. Then I think Chad's fastest from there was a 240 dead, I think.
Or like he had like a high 239, I think.
Yeah. So like shifting gears reduced your time by 9 seconds on that track. But the fact that you guys could leave it in a gear and only lose like 9 seconds per lap is pretty insane.
And we were all pretty tightly grouped for like our fastest laps. I think Chad had the fastest one. And then me and Sulfrain and Chris were all within a second of each other, I think, of our fastest laps with the 4th gear method. Right. And we all had varying like luck with traffic and
different
tire situations
of the race and tires. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like I know on like day 2, I handed the car to Sulfrain, I think. And I checked I handed the car to Chad. But then after Chad got out, I checked the tire pressure for the first time that day, and they were at like 38 or 39 pounds, all of them. And so like I dropped the tire pressure for Sulfrain, and then he went really fast too.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was like so many different variables at play, which I mean, I have all of them as excuses, so it's fine. But yeah, I felt like we all did the thing that we were supposed to do with the car, which was like drive it consistent, take care of it.
Yes.
Not getting into too much trouble. There was a little bit of trouble, but not too much.
Well, your first stint, you were taking curb, which is an insane thing to do because a couple of those curbs will buck you into the air.
Also, there was a broken tie rod end.
Yeah, because I had to use the slide hammer like a madman to get the wheel bearing out. So I'm sure I chowdered that tie rod while I was doing that.
Yeah. I had kind of forgotten about the tie rod end, to be honest. I was just like, vroom vrooms, let's do vroom vrooms. And I was just testing it out, you got to see. I will say it handles great. Like the balance of it is really good. Whatever suspension they have on there is great. It does have a lot of weight transfer. Well, yeah. So you kind of have to like wait for things to move and then kind of go with it. And then there was a few times where it got a little slidey on me in the rear section. Yeah. But it was really easy to manage. Like,
yeah, it's a front wheel drive car. You need the rear end to step out on you a little bit. I mean, like you need it if you truly want a real performance front wheel drive car, you need it to basically want to spin on a straight. But that's not what you want in an endurance.
In an endurance car, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot to manage.
Right. But you need just a little squiggly. A little squiggly. Yeah.
It felt really light, and it felt really like, when it was in the power band, it felt fine.
Yeah.
It's not fast.
No. It's the Volkswagen 2-liter, no turbo. We don't know how many 100,000 miles are on it. Yeah. We don't.
And no OBD port.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a whole thing. But real quick. So the whole reason oil was getting onto the clutch, I don't think that we mentioned this, was because the rear main seal was leaking. Right. And so like oil's coming from somewhere. I did see an oil leak when it was on my lift from a couple places. It's a Volkswagen. But yeah, so it was the rear main seal. So, we'll get to like the whole discussion around like that happens Saturday night into Sunday in a bit here. But what were you saying?
I was just going to say that, the brakes were great. It handled really well. It was really, really well balanced. And it was very fun to drive, even at the like reduced pace that we were at. Like it could have been faster, obviously. But it's a fun little car to drive because it'll lift off oversteer when you want it.
Yeah.
And that turn 4 to 5, I feel like is such a good at high plains. It's such a good like barometer for any car and how it behaves there, because if you get 4 right, then the transfer into 5, the transition into 5 is always really interesting, because then you pitch really far downhill going the opposite direction, and there's like cambers there that are changing. And so there's just a lot like going on with the car. Like there's a lot of weight transfer happening. And so like how a car behaves into that when you're offline or you've scared yourself because you took more speed through 4 than you thought you could. Those sorts of things, like how it behaves through there really tells you a lot about it. And it would like the rear would step out but you would just like mount the throttle and go. And it was great. Like it's exactly what you want a front wheel drive car to do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was big weight transfer, but it was totally manageable.
Right. And High Plains is not an insanely technical course. So it's not like this is go-karting where you want these pivots happening all the time. You need like these like gentle nudges to kind of like upset the car to move to a position that works for the turn. And then like stay in there, right? Yeah. And that's what that car let you guys do, Yeah.
It was just super fun. So we finished out the day on Saturday. We ran all day on Saturday with just like kind of the normal minor mishaps that a Lemons team runs into, right? Like a transponder didn't work for the first couple of laps.
Yep.
We had some slow pit stops. We a Mustang hit me while I was driving.
Took off the driver's side mirror. Yeah.
Took off the one good mirror we had on the car.
Yeah.
Like those kinds of like, we had to like figure out who had helmets with proper posts and like all that sort of shit.
Right.
But we ran the whole day. We were kind of mid-pack, finished in a good spot. Yeah. And then the discussion started around, this is what I'm excited to hear your take on now after a few days, is we found a clutch.
Right.
We couldn't find a flywheel.
We found a flywheel, but not flywheel bolts.
Oh, that's what it was. We couldn't find flywheel bolts. And the discussion was, do we change the clutch overnight on Saturday?
Right. Yeah.
You want to take over?
Absolutely. So, I mean, that was the big topic, right? Like if we changed the clutch, we would have been able to get back to shifting and gotten back down into the 220s and 30s easy, right? Yeah. If we didn't change the clutch, we knew we would have to stay in 4th gear for the rest of the race because it just simply was not going to work to try to go back to shifting gears. We would have glazed the clutch, roasted it, and probably had an undrivable car, right? And we would have been hard, like you said, harder on the tires. We would have worn through those. It seems like we picked up brake pad material. Like the brakes were great. The brakes just kept getting better. We improved the rear. We didn't change the rear rotors because it's like the whole rotor hub assembly. Yeah. Right. And so we just left the rear rotors on there. And like after day 1, the rotors look so much better than they did when we started.
They really did.
Yeah. We like honed the rotors. Yeah. But so the decision was like, do we pull a long night? Do we like in our state of exhaustion, dealing with like a 92-degree day on the pavement all day, people taking 2 shifts, all that stuff, like, and all of the mental stress that we've had, even getting up to the point where we like can we actually do this? Yes. Okay. We're actually here. You got the RV. You've coordinated stuff with your parents and the kids. I did the weird, like long day of work race, like Joel and his job and Chris and the family stuff and everything, right? Like that was all the baggage that we were bringing into it. Like with this baggage and all this stuff, do we try to make this fix on the car tonight? Right. And I remember Joel and I sitting in the RV talking about it. A couple other people were around, and I can't remember who, but one of us was like, there is a chance that like we could try to take it apart and the car might not go back together. Like we could, we don't know these cars. Like I know Fiats and Saabs, like we don't know them like the back of our hands, this one.
Mm-hmm.
And just from being around the HHR and like what we've worked through with that, there's always an unaccounted for thing that comes up unless that's all you do. Like if you rebuild 350s every day, what you could do something like that overnight, right? But we didn't know, and we were really worried because if we start taking it apart, there's lines you can't come back from. If you don't,
and we didn't have flywheel bolts, which was the big thing, right?
Right. And flywheel bolts are torque to yield, right?
Yeah.
And Ian, new listener Ian that was there with us the whole weekend, shout out to him, right? And your dad were talking about like all of the properties of all of the metal stuff. So they were just engineering out over, that stuff. But like the flywheel bolts were kind of like the judges with the ballast. The flywheel bolts almost kind of made the decision for us, right? Yep. Or at least like gave us the excuse or that extra little bit of thing that we were like, okay, like we shouldn't try this. It's better to have a slower car that you can drive. Your friends can have fun, and I can put videos on the internet, and we can do the thing.
It was manageable. We knew it was manageable.
Right. It's not like it was doing like 6-minute laps, right?
Right.
Yeah. We were out there, and we were, and just it's endurance racing, just being out there, that matters. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. We ended up finishing ahead of a lot of faster cars than us because they had problems, you know? So yeah. And we finished, kind of midfield and then overall and midfield in our class.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't sell us short. So out of 26 people in Class C, maybe 24, I can't remember.
It was 24.
We finished. Well, there was 24 at one point. I think that there were some that didn't make it into the stats the next day.
Oh,
so I think there were 26 to begin with.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that, but we finished 12th in Class C and like 38th out of, I think, over 70 vehicles.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, in a car that we had to keep in fourth gear and only had a 2-liter engine. It'd be another thing if that was like a big V8 that we had to leave in fourth gear or something with a turbo.
Right.
No, we left a 2-liter little Volkswagen piddly motor in fourth gear and did a 2.5-mile track.
The 2. Slow.
2. slow, Ian.
We drove it over 600 miles.
Yeah.
And again, can't stress this enough. It had standing water in it 72 hours before the race started.
And none of us have ever worked on a Cabrio before.
No, or a Mark III.
Or a Mark III.
Volkswagen.
Right? Yeah. I had never worked on a Volkswagen other than getting your mirror back on your passenger side.
Collecting bolts off the pavement in your neighborhood.
That's not working on it. That's just cleaning up litter. Yeah. After your vehicle attempted to murder me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we decided that we're just gonna run it. We're gonna get some sleep. We're gonna go. Mm-hmm. We're gonna do the lemon stuff of the potluck. We're gonna walk around. We saw the PT Cruiser guys that got Joel so drunk last year with the keg of Fireball, and I literally pushed Joel down the street from the PT Cruiser guys because I asked them if they had their keg of Fireball again, which is a sentence no one should say. But
terrible.
They were like, "Yeah, come on," and I was like, "No," and shoved Joel down the road. Yeah.
We fell asleep to the sounds of karaoke wafting over the paddock.
Yeah. I heard the
Lemons
worst.
is great. For anyone who hasn't been to a Lemons race, it really is fun. Like it really is. Everybody's so great.
Yeah.
It's especially at High Plains, I feel like, because everybody I talk to who races like out on the West Coast or the East Coast and then comes to High Plains, they're always like, this is the best vibe. Yeah.
Okay.
Like the paddock is just like the best.
Okay.
I can't wait for September.
So High Plains is in the middle of nowhere. I think it's because like people aren't like trying to do other things. They're not like trying to go to a certain bar or like see another thing. Like we got to make it all ourselves. This is our little oily Burning Man that night.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so much fun. I'm so happy that I got to do Vroomy Vrooms with my friends. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Sunday, everybody took one longer stint. And Joel brought it in on the first day. Chris brought it in on the last day. And it was awesome, right? Yeah,
I feel like the driver order worked great.
Yeah.
You know, everybody got like it was right that I think that Joel and Chris got to end the days. Like both of that was both correct. And yeah, I think everybody got pretty equal time behind the car or behind the wheel. And man, for like throwing it together at the last possible fucking second.
Yeah.
It went as well as it possibly could have.
There was like I happen to have 4x100 wheels that we could use. Right. And 2 tires. All we could get was like 2 tires, you know, like all of these things, like the ballast, the flywheel bolts, like all of that stuff, like, you know, and we learned some important lessons, you know, like that specifically with the clutch and all that, like sometimes like you don't have to fix everything that's broken. You don't, you know, like really think about the risk, you know?
Right. Well, and it's true. Like you know, we always talk about, you know, Matt Murphy's great advice of like, there's always something to manage, right? Yes. And your job is to figure out what you have to manage and do it. And like, figuring out like, oh, I can manage this. I already know I can manage this, but this like pile of unknowns, unknown management, that's a whole other thing, right?
Right.
So sometimes you got to like just stick with what you know you can deal with.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that I want to thank you for, Ian, is I think inadvertently you learned how to get someone off of our radio channel.
Yeah. So we were on radio and you had set up the radio. And it was working great, but there was, you know, because there's a finite number of channels, there was another team on the radio.
And you're lucky if there's only one other team that happens to use your channel. And changing a channel is a whole thing because you got to coordinate it, but you got to do it and the car has to change it and blah, 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 right?
Yep. And so, you know, we were like, you know, rather than like berate anybody or be like, this is our channel or whatever, we just coexisted, but we were just chattier, you know, and I think we were just having more fun on the radio than they were because they were basically just yelling at each other on the radio, I think.
Right.
And at one point, the other team said to their driver, well, first of all, I had the idea like, let's prepend everything that we say on the radio with Cowabunga so we know that it's for our team.
And we asked them to do that too, and they did not.
Oh, did we ask them to do it too?
Yeah. We had asked them on the radio to just say something before they talk to their driver. Their driver talks to them and crickets.
That's funny. I didn't know that part.
Just say your number, you know, right? We've had 2 or 3 other teams on the radio at the September race and 0 issues, you know? Yeah. And it's not like we had issues. It was just like, like you just always say your thing before you say what you need to say.
Right.
Unless you're on fire, right?
Yeah.
Cowabunga fire. Cowabunga third-degree burns.
I was like, let's say cowabunga before our radio message. So that was working really great. And at one point, I was on the radio while Chad was in the car. And the other team told their driver, you're doing great. Because the driver had radio to check in. The message back to the driver was, you're doing great. And I waited a few seconds, and then I said, cowabunga, Chad, you're doing even better than that other guy. And I think they left the channel not long after that.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. We didn't get much squawk after that. Yeah. Yeah. It's a shared
I was really
thing.
hoping to start like a little beef on the radio.
Right.
I thought it'd be fun.
Yeah.
But they were not interested.
No, they were not. Yeah. Yeah. Nobody owns the channels. You can't reserve one,
Mm-hmm.
It's, you happen to be on it or you don't,
Yeah. I decided to reserve it with my obnoxious dispatches instead.
Yeah. And which is the right move. Yeah. And we're already on one of the higher power channels that you have to, there's air quotes for the audio listeners, have to have a license for, right? Like just the click for the license. Right. But there's only certain people that should be on these channels, and so there was another team on ours. We have the FCC license to be there, but like just say your thing. Just say your number every time. Just say or just say something dumb like we did,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It worked great. We knew exactly who was talking.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it was funny because like in the more immediate times when you just need to yell something to the pit from while you're driving the car, like when Joel had someone's car pop a wheel off, like, in front of him, not like immediately in front of him, but in front of him enough, right? Like you just shout into the radio like someone's wheel fell off, Yeah. So there's that kind of stuff. But like if you can, say something.
Yeah.
So
I will say, that brings us to the live stream stuff. Dave, you did an amazing job on that. Like it looked so good. And I loved that, especially on day one, there was just like every pit stop, there was another camera added. Like there was just like a one iteration improvement every single pit stop. And I was joking that like I was joking with Sulfurate and Joel that like I wish they would do that at F1, just like that you could see like things moving around on the screen. Like it's just a work in progress. We're building the plane as we're flying it, guys.
Absolutely. Like I'm dragging things in OBS, right? Like a tablet screen just appears out of nowhere. Yeah.
It was great. Yeah. Like the fact that you had a good baseline of like the PC and the modem, and that works. Yeah. And then you just iterate, like that's the right way to do it,
Yeah.
So for anyone who wants to check it out, like go to our YouTube page and just, you don't have to watch 8 hours of it or whatever, but like just look at like the beginning of day one and then look at like towards the end of day two, and you can see like, all of the work that Dave did over the weekend on the live stream as it was happening.
Yeah. I wrote a Python script from Saturday to Sunday that let me call the race monitor API, which I have an account for, Sulfurane helped me parse the JSON a little bit. And and so like, and you and I were talking because like I was running into this thing where like the script wasn't looping slow enough. It needed to sleep. So like, you're like, well, we got to do that thing where we write another script to fire that script. And that's, of course, what we did. We wrote a batch file.
Is that what you ended up doing?
Oh, yeah, of course. That's the easiest thing. I wrote a 4-line batch file that looped every 12 seconds because we could only make a call every 10 seconds because the free API call is limited to 6 times per minute,
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But that got us flag status. It got us current position. It got us the number of laps, the best lap time. I've since already reworked the script to give us previous lap time, session time and time to go.
Nice
on there as well. Yeah. So yeah, I
so
got
good.
the Track Addict track map. Track Addict was being a little butthole. And yeah, so like I didn't, and cameras were like the reverse camera was dropping, and the fact that we couldn't find the fucking OBD port, like, yeah,
Right.
yeah, they
Still don't know where that is.
No, it's got, I hope to God it's wire tied, like zip tied somewhere behind the dash, because in the Volkswagen Cabrio, I think, did I send the YouTube to the group?
You did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, tell people where you find the OBD port on a 1999 Volkswagen
You have to
Cabrio.
like take out the ashtray.
Step 1.
Step 1, take out the ashtray in the center console, and then you like move a little door over. And
Step 2, you slide the thing over to where the ashtray was to reveal the secret OBD compartment.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. So you can't get data and smoke at the same time. That's not allowed.
Yes. Meanwhile, my Fiat has the trunk release is in red and the OBD port is right above it, and it's right inside the driver's door. Like, you cannot miss it. You practically knee it every time you get in and out of the car. They're like, you're going to need these 2 things, bucko. Here they are.
Yeah. I wonder if they did that partly for right-hand drive markets. So that way the OBD port would be in the same spot no matter what.
Right. I bet you're right. Yeah.
But yeah, it is funny that it's over there.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, we never did find it.
Nope. You found a USB cable, which we figured out was attached to an ESP32 board that ran the race clock in the little dashboard thing.
Yeah.
And that was just to update the firmware on that little board. But yeah, we were worried that like you had to have something plugged in for the car to run correctly. Like there was some kind of like management that we would need to have plugged in that we didn't, but thankfully that was not true. Yeah.
So now what we need to do is take the USB cable to that race clock and run it to the PC, so you can like put messages on there. You can put like boobs on there. You can put drive faster. You know.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It was. I learned a lot, about the tech setup. Oh, yeah. And speaking of tech setup, I talked to Sean Beaver from Temerity Racing, the guy that was like my inspiration for the whole live streaming setup. So we'll put a link to their YouTube channel in the YouTube description. Temerity, this guy Sean has done an amazing job of like honing his and going through like his own version of like iteration on iteration on iteration for like dialing in his team's live stream. He was there with another team doing the live stream for them. And I saw their live stream, and I meant to talk to him at the September race and didn't have a chance. But I saw like their live stream, and I saw like I could figure out where they were in the paddock. And I was like, I need to say hi to Sean. So like I went over and I was just like, I'm looking for Sean, like where I knew he was like somewhat nearby, hopefully. And he was like, yeah, that's me. And I introduced myself, and we had like a 20-minute powwow of like just super collaborative and like appreciative discussion. Like, he's such a nice dude, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Like, like the way that he's approaching it, like, and his setup is so great. And like, like the way that we're able to like bounce stuff off each other and stuff. Like, I'm super impressed with what he's done. And like, yeah, he's a bright freaking dude, and absolutely check out Temerity for sure. Like when the team that he was with, I think in September, was down, he was able to just show some of our live stream on their channel and just like kind of like have, like just kind of get us out there a little bit more, like just to do a nice thing for us, which is crazy nice. So like, yeah, thank you, Sean. It was fantastic talking to you, yeah, super, super nice. Like, I was talking to PETA because PETA wanted the race report yesterday. Right. And so I talked to PETA on the phone, and he was like, that's amazing, because it feels like we have so many people like that we can talk to about car stuff, but like you don't really have anybody you can talk to about like the live streaming, like audio video stuff. And I was like, Sean is it. Like that, like I look up to that dude. He's a bright dude. So yeah, really thankful to touch base and talk with him for sure. Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. But
So let's wrap this up by, I want your just thoughts on the last like week and a half.
Oh,
God. Of like the trough and then the peak.
Yeah.
And do you think it was worth the heartbreak of the HHR nonsense to have the weekend that we did?
Man, that's a tough question. I think that I don't know. I view the weekend that we had as like not that we had to like go through a trial of the HHR to get there, but that it was a windfall bonus to me. Like that's really how I look at it. Like any laps were just manna from heaven. Just the fact and also I think that like some of the energy that kept us going was the fact that like we were pulling this off and we're all like kind of looking at each other like, yeah, we are doing this. Isn't this crazy? Yeah.
Well, and I think maybe I should have restated that. I don't think I shouldn't have said, did it make it worth it? I think what I meant was, does it make you think about the HHR engine blowing and not being able to race that? Does it make you think about that differently?
I think it does. I think that you learn a lot about each other in the hard times and the good times, and I think that like it's important to recognize how you react and how you respond and what you can do to improve like communication, collaboration, and things like that in all of those cases, right? The good to the bad. And I feel like I learned a lot about how I can be a better teammate in the bad times, And I do think that like, there's like communication stuff that I want to improve on, So I do think that like that walking away from like the really rough time with the HHR, I've been able to kind of gather some personal things that like I'm reflecting on, Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel about it?
I feel like I feel like, because I part of it is not my first rodeo with bad news on a racing team, right?
Sure.
That it feels like confirmation to me that the best sort of stance is just ready to roll with whatever, right? Like you've gotta let whatever happens. You just gotta be like, okay, that's what we're doing now.
Right. Agility is huge.
Yeah. And not being too invested in the outcome that you hope for.
Sure.
And like maintaining some perspective on like, given all of the shit that we had to do, this outcome is amazing.
Right.
Like I think if we were really dead set on we're going to win Class C with the HHR, then this would have been a devastating weekend, even with everything that happened. Right. And that's, I don't think, a healthy way to do amateur racing.
No, it's not. It's not. Yeah.
And I really appreciate that everybody on the team, like to a person, had a great time this weekend. Like, because I don't know, on paper, it wasn't like I think if you wrote just it down in like bullet form, it would be like, well, that sounds like shit, like you raced a car that you had no parts for, you had to limp it along for 16 hours.
Yeah.
And
you never drove it before. Yeah.
We had never driven it before. We couldn't fix the thing we wanted to fix.
Right.
We didn't get to race the car that we had spent all this time and effort and money on, but But I think the fact that we were all able to kind of like shift our perspective and still have a great time is like, that's a good testament to like how good this team is as a team.
Yes. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
So yeah. I'm super happy that you were like, because I was watching the group text on that Wednesday night when Chris was like, I think I'm gonna buy this thing. I was like watching the group text for my buddy Dave's reaction. I was just like, what's Dave's reaction gonna be? What's Dave's gonna say? And when you said I am into this, I went, we're in, we're doing it. I was
in
so
all capital letters.
Yes, I was like, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have to say that to turn it around on you being okay with us not trying to make the fix on the transmission, right? Because I think that like it wasn't 12 angry men. It was one Harry Ian, and we had all kind of arrived there, but you were coming off of a stint, right? And I think that we had
coming right out of the car when that conversation was happening.
Yeah. And so I think it had been happening for like 45 minutes, or whatever, while you were in the car, and you kind of came into it. And so like you went through like oh no, like I do want to try to fix it, because we could go faster and we could like shift gears and have more fun in the car. Right. But then you came, you landed on it yourself that like it was better to kind of to try to not fix it or to not.
Yeah, you guys were completely right. Yeah. I mean, also I don't know what I'm talking about really with that stuff. So I realized that quickly as well. But I had just gotten out of the car and I was all amped up and I was like, of course, well, do I want to go faster? Yes, I want to go faster.
Right.
Like what kind of question is that?
Yeah, but your opinions aren't invalid. Also, you're the one who put it together that like things were slipping from a gear change. And then like you figured out that like every now and then you get like a weird open diff hop, like wheel hop. And then curves. And there were like very intermittent clutch slippage things, but like you guys learned to kind of read the tack and know when to back off, right? The tack, when the tack was working, because guess what? The gauges didn't always work. Oh, the fuel gauge worked and the battery gauge worked. Oh yeah, the temperature gauge and the fuel gauge, right? But the tack and speedo, no.
Sometimes worked, sometimes didn't. Who knows?
And we thought we had like the submarine 2 keys, nuclear missile, like because there's 2 kill switches that if you do this kill switch first and then this one and then start the car, then the tack will work. And then that went away, and it did for a second, but then that just went away. So it must have been something else. Yeah.
I don't know. That was hard. Not having an attack, but I was also like throughout all of my stints, I was like, because I figured out that like there was a couple of curbs that were high enough that it would cause enough slip that it would make the clutch slip from the open, like the differential, whatever nonsense was happening.
Right.
And so then it was a game of like, well, which curbs? So then I was like,
see, this is the kind of stuff Ian doesn't tell me because he knows I hate to hear it. I'm like, you're damaging the car. You're damaging the car.
I was doing it scientifically. I was just like, this lap, I'm going to try curbs on this corner.
This is what I deal with every car thing we do.
And I figured out that there were some curbs that were fine. A lot of them, in fact. There was just a couple that were like, no, can't do those. And
it would have been fine to take 0 curbs. 0 curbs is also an acceptable answer.
But I wanted to go fast, Dave. I wanted to go vroom.
You know what? See, I know you. What I should have done is I should have challenged you to your best no curb run and your best curb run. Right? Like to give you like a high water mark and then say like, you cannot take curbs for like this set of laps. I bet you can match this time.
Yeah, probably.
But that might have worked a little bit for like two or three.
I will say that there were probably 2 corners where I had to take curbs to get a good lap time. Right. And I guarantee you all the other drivers were doing it too.
Yeah.
Like turn 4, a tiny bit of curb. You got to get a tiny bit of curb there.
Yes.
And then at the top of the S's, turn 12.
Yeah.
You got to take that first entry curb. Otherwise, you're too pinched for everything else. And with the momentum you lose up the hill, you'd be dead.
Right.
So, and I figured out those were fine. The middle curb in the NVS's, though, that was where the problem was. Because that's the one where you can really like launch the car.
Yeah. That you launched PETA with seized studs on your car. I literally saw your car go up on 2 wheels on that turn when PETA was riding.
I've been on 2 wheels on that corner many, many times. And I figured out that was really bad for the car, so I didn't do that. I did that once, and it didn't go well, and I never did it again.
When I saw you do that in the R32, I was like sitting in the stands, like probably looking at your dot on the iPad, and like looked up and saw like the side of your car in the fucking air, and then sit down, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like I'm driving us both home tonight.
It was fine. It turned out fine. Anyway.
Yeah.
We both did great.
Yeah.
Team was awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolute. Huge shout out to Joel, to Crystal Frayne, to Chad, to Chris Hofstra, to you. Absolutely, for sure. Yeah. Another round of shout outs. Chris's dad, Kurt. Dude.
Oh, yes.
Kurt is the silent backbone of the team. Okay?
Yeah.
He's a man of few words, but he ran tons of errands on that Thursday that I was working on the car with Chad and Chris and Joel.
Fixed our mirror.
Yep. Yeah. So tell folks what he did with the mirror.
Well, so on the first day, I was on the back straight and I was going around a slower car, and the slower car was doing some weird shit.
Yeah. I got it here on YouTube.
Oh yeah, here it goes. So this 505 car did the thing that you're not supposed to do, which is he gave a point by and then went the direction of the point by. He moved in that direction. So he like went like this out the thing and then went that direction. So me and the Mustang behind us were like, what the fuck? So I move over to go around him, and I kind of like follow the seam in the road. And then the Mustang goes, well, I guess I'm going to go through. I don't know why I decided to go between us instead of around me.
Right.
Because there was enough room. But here comes the Mustang, Leroy Jenkinsing, like through this gap. And then the 505 car starts moving back over.
Yeah.
And so the Mustang is like, ah! And you can hear him in the video. If you listen to the video, you can hear him punch it. Like you can hear him lift for a second and then go, whoa.
Okay.
And he took my mirror off. It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. Yeah. And just the glass popped off. And here it is in the video, like there. That is the mirror flying through the air. How do you do one?
I wanted to look at this video to see what my reaction was like.
Your reaction was exactly what I thought it was. You just kind of like look over at where the mirror was and just kind of like shake your head a little bit. Yeah. You just look over and then you go to the radio button. Like, there you go. There's your hands on the radio button. Cowabunga Ian. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So, there's the glass right there.
Yeah, there's the mirror right there.
Yeah, flying through the air. And then I can't remember the guy's name, but he came around that evening. He had ridden his bike on the course, found the mirror, and brought it over to us as a souvenir and apologized, and then showed us the video from his perspective that totally confirmed the car coming over. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So then Kurt, at home, cut us some plexiglass to put back in that mirror and fix the mirror housing for us overnight.
Ian, he cut up his shaving mirror to make that mirror. Because
That's
like
right.
a sheet of mirror at like Home Depot was like $100 and something, and he was like, I'm not spending that. I have a shaving mirror. And so he cut up a shaving mirror for us.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. You and I put together a great solution for the mirror, for the rear view mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And you started like disassembling it, like you being like, what could we do with this? And then that was what I needed to say. Oh, like now here's where Ginger
I have
comes
the thing for this.
Yeah. With every camera mount and every swivel and suction mount known to man, like, and two of them, right? Like the most expensive B&H photo Noah's Ark that I am, right? And we cobbled together this like fully like ball mount swivel, infinitely adjustable mirror that was, because all the car had was just the standard stock mirror,
which was pointed straight at the roll cage.
Yes.
Which was unhelpful.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. There was you couldn't see anything behind you, and there was a lot happening behind you in this car. So I am so happy that we figured out that mirror on Friday night.
Yeah.
Because that would have sucked.
Yep. Yeah. We sacrificed 2 tripod to GoPro mounts, but that mirror is staying in that car for the rest of the time. The suction mounts held the entire race. We didn't attach them or anything.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, honestly, that would be that's a good solution for any race car. Honestly, it was pretty great.
Yeah.
It was one of the better mirrors I've driven with, to be honest.
None of us hit our heads on it when we were getting in and out of the car. That's always a huge thing with those race mirrors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That was great.
So there we go. So yeah, shout outs to Kurt, the team, our buddy Ian for hanging with us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the whole crew.
My parents for watching my children.
Yes. Your parents, my wife for cooking food and taking care of me and like supporting all of this stuff, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the whole crew at High Plains and the Lemons judges, Brian was there again. Like every time he is talking to somebody about somebody spinning or going off, right? And like, he's always so good about talking to them and like bringing them back to ground level. And then I can show him like the video and he's like, all right, yep, perfect. Not a problem, and like, that like, you're just in a good environment because like, you're just, that, they're trying to do the right thing. They're encouraging and keeping everybody safe. You want to do the right thing and just have a good race and kind of show that you care just as much as they do,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, very thankful for the High Plains crew, the food truck going all weekend. Yeah. All that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great as always.
Yeah. One vehicle caught fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. One vehicle caught fire. Yeah. Didn't see anything too crazy, thankfully. So
yeah. No, it was 2 red flags on Sunday and that was it.
Yeah.
Bunch of local yellows, but that's about it.
Yeah. The wheel popping off while Joel was driving, which I also have here, on the Kenny G BMW. Yeah. So there you go. Boink.
Oh my God.
Yep.
So amazing.
And yeah, so they're fixed. They fixed the car. They pulled apart off of one of the BMWs that they drove there, their daily driver, put it on the race car, which meant they had to take it off the race car and fix their daily driver to get home. So yeah, good job, Kenny G boys. Yeah. So
fantastic.
Right? There you go, man.
Well, Dave, I think we did a car show. I mean, that was all about cars and lemons. We did it.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Do you want an album of the week for the way out?
Absolutely. I got the T-shirt, the 24 Hours of
Lemons. I wanted that T-shirt, actually. They didn't have my size.
Yeah, that's being a double XL boy.
There you go.
Yeah. If you want to wear it, you could be in a tent.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So the album this week that I want to do is a banger classic from the 2000s. But I selected this one because Nico, my oldest, was actually had one of the songs stuck in his head. And so he was singing a little bit of it. And then I was like, ooh, well, this is what we're going to listen to for the next week. So I've just been playing all Hot Chip for like a full week straight. So we're going to go Hot Chip, The Warning, my favorite Hot Chip record. It's so good. Yeah. It's so good. It's been a while since I listened to this one because I don't have it on vinyl. I have One Life Stand on vinyl.
Okay.
But man, this one is just so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. I need to listen to it again. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, that's right. The song he was singing is from the first record.
Okay.
Which was Bound for the Floor, which is a great song. But this is the one that I always come back to as like, oh yeah, this is like my favorite. Because this is the one that I found them on. I didn't listen to the first record really.
Yeah.
I listened to this one. I was like, oh yeah, this is the shit.
Yeah. Nice, man. Okay. The Warning, Hot Chip. Absolute. Yeah. Banger album for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Links in the YouTube description. Yeah. Nice, buddy.
Dave, we did it.
Yeah. Did you feel like I put you in an Acura 80X to decompress? You doing okay? Yeah. Even though you've been talking all day, you've been doing your Ian stuff. You doing all right?
It was good. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. I think like a little debrief after we do something like this is always a good idea.
Absolutely. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody, Apex Adjacent, Gmail, the things, 720-515-1391. Thank you. We love you. Goodbye.